Linda McMahon to please come to the podium.
I think this is the biggest house I've played since I've been on the campaign trail. Thank you all very, very much for coming out tonight. Different towns that are represented, thanks very much for having me again. We had a nice coffee chat one day just to kind of get acquainted. And I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to be able to speak with you tonight. I'm going to give you kind of an overview about me and just kind of broad strokes, because what I really enjoy most of all is hearing from you. Because that's what I have been doing, traveling around the state for meetings and events. I think today I went over the 220-some mark for different events and meetings that I've had since I announced in September. Because that's incredibly important to me, is to get out among all of you and hear what you have to say and what concerns and issues are on your mind. Because what I have found as I'm traveling is it doesn't matter where I go, that the issues relative to any particular town or district are felt more passionately by those of you who live there. And you're typically much more knowledgeable about those events than any representative or senator could be. And I just think it's incumbent upon anyone running for public office to stay in touch with that constituency, to know fully and understand what is on your minds. So about me a little bit. I grew up in a small town in North Carolina called New Bern. I'm an only child, and that gave me the benefit of being my father's son and my mother's daughter. So I had a great opportunity. I don't know, somebody's got a bird chirping phone.
Just trying to turn it off.
That happens to me all the time. Don't you hate that? So I had that advantage, and it really served me well growing up, because I learned to be a really good basketball player from my dad, and I learned to be a really good mom and housewife from my mom. However, my mother was also a budget analyst with the government. Both my parents worked in civil service, so I have a great appreciation for both sides of life that way. It's a great opportunity to be able to have. To be a little bit of a tomboy and then have to go inside and be your mother's daughter as well. I am not a career politician. I have never run for public office before. I'm a businesswoman. My husband and I have lived in Connecticut for over 30 years, and we've really grown our business from a small family entrepreneurial business to the global brand, WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, that is traded on the New York Stock Exchange. WWE is seen in over 140 countries and translated in 35 languages. It's a company that I am very proud of and served as the CEO for many years, and the CEO when we took it public and until I resigned last September to run for office for the United States Senate. I really felt that I needed to devote 100% of my energy and my effort to running for office. So that's what I decided to do last September. When Vince and I first started out, we were young, we were learning a lot about business, and we were bankrupt. We lost our home, we lost our cars, we didn't have any credit cards, we couldn't get credits from local banks, and if it hadn't been for good friends and family to kind of help us through a little bit as we struggled back, it would have been very difficult for us to have made it back. And I think it's important to tell you that, because today, because of WWE and the success of that company, I'm financially secure. I have the ability to fund my own campaign with money that I've earned. And I'm doing that because I don't want to take any special interest money, I don't want to take any PAC money, and I want to go to Washington and totally be the voice of the people of Connecticut without any special interest obligation. And I think that's important. I do believe that this election in our state come November is going to be much like what's going on in Massachusetts tonight. I think it is a referendum on the policies in Washington, the policies that have our country over $12 trillion in debt, and a deficit of about $1.4 trillion, of just wild spending without seeming the proper controls on it. I think the health care reform bill is one that has taken place in back rooms with backroom deals. It hasn't had the transparency it should have. Health care reform is needed. You know, Medicare is going to go bankrupt in a few years if we don't change things. But don't you think we should look at the cost of those health care provisions first? Tort reform is one way I would suggest that. I think if we put in tort reform and caps, like some states have already done, by the way, we could reduce the cost of health care premiums. I think that small businesses should be able to pool their resources and buy group insurance at reduced premium prices. And I think we should be able to buy insurance across state lines. That would require changes in the state regulation, but I think that would be a very worthwhile endeavor in order to bring premium costs down. Those are some things to look at, I think, first of all, to take costs out of health care before we were to launch into a lot of the reform measures that are trying to be pushed through at breakneck speed for what I believe is a political deadline and not necessarily the expediency that the American public would like to see. I think we do need health care that folks should be able to get affordable health care, but let's do it in a bipartisan way. Look at it and make sure that we're not increasing costs. And as I stand here tonight, I do not believe that this will be a deficit-neutral bill. Whether it's the House version or the Senate version, I think it's going to cost us over $1 trillion by the time it's all said and done, and it won't cover everyone still. So there are a lot of things to be looked at with this health care reform, and that's just one issue. I believe we're going to be raising taxes because there isn't any rein-in on spending in Washington. And since there's no reins on spending, how are you going to cover this additional debt? It's got to be with increase in taxes. I am not for that. I am for reduction in taxes and smaller government and decrease in spending, because until we get everything under control, our economy is not going to be able to grow. And our economy is not going to recover until we put people back to work. I was asked several times, what are the three major issues that you would look at as a senator? And I've said jobs, jobs, and jobs. And I've said that from the time I entered this race in September, and now I'm hearing more and more about jobs. Small businesses create 70% of the jobs in this country. And until we get money back in the hands of small businesses and entrepreneurs, let them keep money. Let them keep it in their pocket and let government get out of the way. Let free market and the free enterprise system flourish the way it has for so many years in this country. Our economy is trying to recover. It's struggling to recover. But Washington policies and procedures aren't allowing that because of the absolute uncertainty that is going on in the marketplace. Entrepreneurs, small businesses, don't know what taxes are going to come down on them. They don't know what health care is going to do to their business. And I have been talking to small business owners across the state, and they are in that state of flux. Because of the uncertain environment, they're not going to expand. They're not going to hire anyone. They probably will lay people off. They don't want to go over that level of income that puts them into an excise tax position. They are afraid of expansion, and they cannot get bridge loans from their local banks that they've gotten before. So many of them have told me, look, I have a small HVAC business, or I have an appliance business, or even car dealers, who have heretofore been able to go to their local bank in times when their receivables were a bit off or payments were slow coming in, and get bridge loans. They've paid them back. They've been good customers. And today that money is not available because of the restrictions, and the debt that we have in the country. And as our debt keeps growing, increased debt puts downward pressure on those markets, and the banks, local banks, are not lending.